Thank you, Mitch. Welcome back, everyone. Glad you're all here. My name is Aaron. I'm an alcoholic. This 1 p.m. meeting will consist of Shawn, and Mike. It's topic is home group and applies to the newcomer. So I won't go into great detail. I mean, obviously we've all heard the home group and the importance of home group. You know, one of the things I heard about home group, coming in was you don't have a home group, you're homeless. Okay? And that sounds good, but I've done homeless before, So I know in my experience, when I have not gotten a home group and not gotten active, it was really just my excuse or my willingness to do things and continue to do things my way. Like I said, the homeless thing is easy, but I've always been that guy that I don't want to commit. I mean, hell, it took them months to convince me to go to the salmon run. It's in 3 weeks. Now I'm committed to that. It's really taking years, guys, So with that being said, when I get a home group, it's a commitment to be there, And one thing I can say about Shawn is when I go to, I don't know Shawn that well, but I do know on Tuesday night, if I go to Broad Highway, he's going to be there. My first time back, he is one of the people I thought of, okay? So thank you for that. That's huge. Being able to recognize faces when I'm terrified and not sure if I even want to be here, and shaking a hand. So Shawn in the middle, I watch Shawn in the middle. Be active, get active, and be active. And he's always present, always willing. And Mike Flower, obviously, we all get to see a little bit about what we all do, but definitely get to see what Mike does for Program Alcoholics Anonymous. So with that, I'll let them take over.
Thanks, Aaron.
Hey everybody, I'm Shaan. I am an alcoholic. Let's get this afternoon kick-started with the Serenity Prayer, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, I am Shaan. I am an alcoholic. I am not on the list. I feel like I just got called up from the farm team. Be ready, right? Be ready. But yeah, I have my sobriety date is February 25th, 2020. I have a sponsor, Dusty. He's not here. He's supposed to be here later. Mike is my grant sponsor. A whole bunch of you. I have one sponsee here, Steven. And a whole host of my sponsee brothers or cousins or whatever. We're family. So you don't get us confused. My name's spelled with 2 A's, Shaan. My students, everybody calls me Double A, like the battery, so if that's easier, Double A, so that's what that's about. So the topic is home group and a plan for the newcomer. I came in 3 weeks before things shut down for COVID. And I just remember coming in. Fortunately, I got a sponsor right away. That was just a opportunity of God's divine intervention. Standing there talking to Dusty before the meeting. A gal comes up, what are you guys talking about? Dusty says, oh, he needs a sponsor. And she's like, you need a sponsor? And then I said, yeah. And she looks at Dusty, you need a sponsee? She said, yeah. And she said, like we got married. I pronounced you sponsor and sponsee. And it's been good ever since, The sponsor relationship with Steven. Like 2 years in, a friend out in New York City sent me a meme for New Year's Day. It said, Happy New Year. I hope God send your higher power sends you somebody really sick to help you stay sober this year. And I laughed about it, right? It's funny, but then I prayed about it. It was a couple days later, Steve and I meeting on the online meeting and kind of the same thing. I'm reaching out, letting folks know I need a sponsee. He's looking for a sponsor. Here we are today. When I first came in, the first meeting I came to was still Thursday night. And I just remember when I first came in, the doors, I was broken, I was desperate, I was tore up, drinking beat me. Those guys loved on me. At first I thought I was in the wrong place, walking down the hall, that basement of the church, laughing and everything going on. They shook my hand, they showed me where the coffee pot was. Guys came up, talked to me, they gave me a big book. They took the 4 Absolutes pamphlet, a whole bunch of guys wrote their phone numbers on it. They come up. I don't remember much about it's a speaker-led meeting. I don't remember much about it. I was there sobbing the entire meeting. These guys just loved on me. And I felt welcome, I felt at home. I felt my first sense of peace, and I don't know how long. And I only had a few weeks in, and then everything started shutting down. I got scared. I picked a hell of a time to get sober, right? And I was a essential worker, doing HVAC. I was going into people's homes. We mask up and social distance and sanitize. And I see grown men, they're growing beards, sitting around in their underwear drinking. And I was mad. I wanted to be that person at home during COVID. But now I have to go anyway. I worked through that recently. So immediately everything transitioned to online, to Zoom meetings. I got involved with an online meeting. So the second weekend, Aaron mentioned it, the Broad Highway, that I call that my home group also. That was like the discussion meeting. That's where I met Dusty, my sponsor. So I called Thursday night my home group, because that's the first when I came in, Broad Highway, because that's where I met my sponsor. And then the online group, Morning Mad, Evening Reflections, because that kept me sober during COVID. As soon as everything opened back up, I got active again in person, and the rest is kind of history in that sense. So I primarily go to in-person meetings, but that online meeting is near and dear to my heart. Today, I'm actually helping a couple of guys remotely go through the big book. We're just getting started about a month ago, and kind of following suit from the big book workshops I've been in. But one guy lives in Wisconsin, the other guy lives in Tennessee, and I just think that's amazing. But anyways, as far as home group, it was instilled in me when we come in. We get a home group, we get a sponsor, we get busy right away, we get through these steps, we practice these principles, we get a higher power, we just get busy. And I've done that. I was so beaten, I was just willing to do anything. As far as the newcomer, I think those guys did it right, because I came back. And, I've been around 4.5 years now, and I've been to a lot of meetings. I've been to meetings in Ontario. When I went up there last summer, I traveled this summer, been to meetings in other parts of the country, there's some meetings, I share that I'm from Akron, and they're like, and then I've been to other meetings, I'm from Akron, I got sober in Akron, and they're like, so what? They're doing things right, so they're locally and then abroad, meetings are done right as per the big book, and meetings are done a little differently. I try to stick towards the meetings that are done by the big book. But having said all that, the newcomer. When I got Steven, I didn't think I was ready to be a sponsor, be a sponsee. But he came in my life at a time that I needed. I was going through some hard times, and I desperately wanted to stay sober. And that was just God doing for me what I couldn't for myself and for Steven. He didn't have a car. I went and picked him up every week. We went to a big bookshop together. Jack and some other folks put it on, and what a blessing that was. And watching Steve transition from brokenness and hopelessness to now where he's working with others, and it's just amazing. As far as I came to big book workshops the last couple of years to learn. I came to this workshop today to learn. because I have these home groups. And I've heard that if you don't like something about your home group, do something different to make it the best home group in the area. And so that's why I'm here, to learn what I can do in my home groups to make them better. And if I can't do anything about it, then maybe I need to pray and think about shifting to some place where I can help make a difference. Because I want to be able to give to that newcomer like was given to me. So I always try to go through and shake hands, introduce myself, get to know a little bit, give out my phone number. I'm texting guys every day I hardly even know, things like that. It's just trying to make some kind of connection. Make these newcomers feel welcome. Make these newcomers know what it means to be an alcoholic. This go-around is not my first time. I came in 25 years ago back home in the state of Michigan. And I didn't get a sponsor. I didn't work the steps. I eventually drank again, and for 25 years, I had a 25-year run. And thank God I made it back, So this time it's different. And I know my purpose today. My purpose is to be a maximum service to God and others. I know that my purpose is to help another alcoholic get out of myself. And so that's what I try to do today. I've learned so much. A lot of you guys don't know me or know of me because I'm involved with different groups, and that's okay. Not everybody can be at the PPG group or in those things involved. But wherever you're at, wherever I'm at, I got to extend my hand and be the only big book somebody might see. Be the only face of God, the light, the beam, and everything else that someone's going to be. So I do my best to work a good program and be of service and maintain my relationship with God. Other than that, I'm just going to continue to listen today to see what I can take home to my home groups. I know as far as the newcomer goes, I've just been doing what I've been taught. There's a whole chapter in the big book, working with others. And so I refer to that often about, at the beginning, just share my experience. But for those that are new and don't feel like they're in the position to sponsor yet, just be of service, share your story, and the rest will come. So anyways, that's all I have. I'm going to keep coming back, putting the work in. I'll pass.
Hi everybody, I'm Shawn, I'm alcoholic.
Shawn!
My sobriety date is July 11th, 2023. Thank you, Shawn, for speaking, and thank you, Aaron, for introducing us. Let's see, the home group and the plan for the newcomer. So I've been in and out of the rooms. I'm one of those chronic relapses, just like you've heard before. So I've had quite a few home groups. And one thing I noticed, everybody talks about how important a home group is, but nobody really talks about why it's so important. You hear those things. I don't like the AA sayings. I kind of hate them. Everybody says if you don't got a home group, you're homeless. And why does that matter? I never really understood why it mattered. Especially if I got my own home I can go home to after the meeting. Why does it matter if I got a home group? And like I said, I've been part of a bunch of different home groups, and you've heard a lot about PPG. And I've been a part of some good home groups, and I've been part of some not so great home groups. One of the biggest home groups I had, they didn't really go by tradition, and they didn't really have a group conscience, and it was a good place to go, and I thought I was doing great. This was the last time I was sober, but I didn't have people there that were going to tell me when I was doing wrong. And honestly, I knew something was wrong before I relapsed, but all those guys, was telling me I was doing great. I had a car, I had a girl, I got an apartment. On the outside everything looked good, but on the inside I was miserable. The alcoholism was still there. I knew something was wrong, and I was asking people, what I needed to do, and nobody really told me anything. They told me to just keep coming to meetings. So I kept coming to meetings, and I kept getting miserable, and I was dying inside AA. I was dying in the rooms. you know, I've been a part of a couple of other different home groups, but, you know, when I came in this time, I wasn't actually able to come to PPG right away. I was court ordered, I had to go to IOP, and my IOP class was on Thursday. So it actually took me quite a while to be able to get to my home group. I knew I was gonna make it my home group, and I had been to the meeting before. But, you know, I had things I had to do. But one of the things that was told to me, you know, because I was upset about having to go to IOP. I didn't want to go to IOP. I didn't think I needed it. You know, I thought I knew everything. But one thing that was told to me is, you know, go to those classes and go to those groups and try to help. And that was one of the biggest things in my recovery is, you know, being taught to be of service. Because, you know, we talked about tradition 1 and, you know, the value of common welfare, and I never really understood any of that. And, you know, and even, you know, I spent a lot of time in the rooms, and I didn't feel like I was home. I didn't feel like I belonged. I believed I was an alcoholic, but I didn't understand what an alcoholic actually was. I didn't know what alcoholism was. And I would come to these meetings, and I would show up 5 minutes before the meeting, and I would leave right after it was over, and the whole time I was there, I was still crawling in my skin, and I didn't feel like I belonged there. I didn't feel like I fit in. You know, and I dealt with that for years in and out of the rooms. And, you know, I would hear people get up and talk, and, you know, they would say that, you know, they came to their first AA meeting and they felt like they were home, and I didn't feel that way, and I thought I was different somehow. And, you know, and that kept me separated from you guys for quite a while. You know, this time when I came in, you know, I had worked steps before. I didn't really work them thoroughly, and I didn't get a true understanding of what the problem actually was. But, you know, I had attempted to follow some suggestions, not all. I didn't want to follow all the suggestions, but the ones that sounded good, I was willing to listen to. But this time when I came in, I was absolutely broken. You know, like you heard other people say, you know, I was beaten up. Didn't really care what I had to do. Honestly, I didn't really even care if I was going to stay sober. I just didn't want to die. And the only place I knew that could even help a little bit was you know, I had enough experience in the rooms to know that I can at least manage for a little bit out of the rooms. And, you know, if that's all I could get, that's what I was willing to get. I didn't truly believe that AA was going to work, you know, for the rest of my life, but I needed something to get me through right then and there. And, you know, I didn't choose my sponsor. So, yeah, I came out of jail and I was in a sober house, and they weren't letting me go to meetings, and I was sneaking out of the sober house to go to meetings. They didn't want you leaving the sober house, at least for the first 30 days or something. And I thought that was crazy. And, you know, I would sit up in my room and I was spinning, so I would sneak out of the sober house and hop on the bus, and I would come to a meeting. And I called one of the guys in the rooms that I've known for years, and I used to work for him. And I was calling to get some work because I didn't have cigarettes and I didn't really have food. And he didn't have work for me, but he recommended me to, you know, to go work for Mike. And so I called Mike and I talked to him, and I was supposed to go to these IOP classes, but I needed some money, so I skipped out of the IOP classes to go to work. And the first day of work, I remember I was painting the ceiling in this little breezeway area, and he asked me if I had a sponsor, and my old sponsor was out in Arizona climbing mountains or something. So, you know, I couldn't get a hold of him, so I told Mike no. And he's like, well, I'm going to give you step work, and, you know, try to do it if you can. And, you know, he sent me home. And I had him drop me off at the coffee house because he gave me some money for working that day, and I was honestly scared to go home. So I got sent home with a little bit of money and, you know, some step work, and somehow I got to work. I can't say it was anything within me, 'cause, you know, like I said, I tried doing steps before, and I didn't truly believe it was going to work. And eventually I ended up getting to the home group. You know, I finally got a true understanding of what alcoholism is, and you know, I got to the home group, and I was immediately told, you know, I get there an hour early, and I help set up, and I do whatever I can to help. And eventually that progressed to where, you know, I was at a place where I could start, you know, spreading the message and helping the new guys. So, you know, and that became a huge part of my recovery. You know, our home group is so important to me. You know, I got jobs in my home group, I show up early, and if I'm picking up a new guy, guess what? He's showing up early too. It's just that simple. You know, I was told I don't miss my home group unless I'm leading or I'm bleeding. It's just that simple. So I don't. You know, on Thursday, I had the opportunity to go to an Arrows game with my kids, but you know, I went to my home group, and you know, thankfully they're old enough that they can understand that I have to do what I have to do, and I have to keep my recovery first. So, you know, they were cool with it, and I sent them some money so they can buy a hat and some ice cream. But you know, I was at my home group because you know that's the firing line. That's where the new guys come. You know, like Mike was saying earlier, they don't come to the community meetings. They don't do all that other stuff. You know, every once in a while they'll come to some of the picnics, but you know, mainly they're coming to home group, and just all the home groups out there. You know, so that's the firing line. That's where I get the opportunity to help the next new guy. We also go to a bunch of treatment centers. I've been going to a treatment center on Friday nights for quite a few months now. It was one of my first service commitments, and you know, I don't always want to go, but at the end of that meeting, I feel so good about being there. You know, I get to help the new guy. So, I mean, I can honestly say I don't really have a plan for the newcomer other than help any way I can. You know, I kind of do what my sponsor did to me, and if I see a new guy that needs a sponsor, I just give him some step work. It's just that simple. Yeah. You know, they don't have to call me their sponsor. I don't really care. They can call me Shawn. They can call me asshole. I don't really care. But I'm going to help them however I can, so I just give them some step work. And, you know, hopefully I can take them through the steps and they do the work. But, you know, when a new guy comes into the room, we literally have to race each other to meet the new guy. You know, if you don't get there first, you're probably not going to get them. It is kind of cool that our home group, it's so, you know, it's the primary purpose group. It's, you know, and that's our primary purpose is helping the next alcoholic. And, you know, we literally have to fight each other over who gets the new guy. And, you know, we go to all these treatment centers and we help out, and, you know, we get to be on the firing line. It's such a huge blessing. I never thought I'd be so grateful to be on the firing line and help the new guy every chance I can get. And, you know, and that was taught to me, you know, by the home group. Another thing about home group is, you know, they've become my family. I literally spend every holiday with home group. I really don't have any family out there. I got some, but, you know, the few that I got are still pretty sick. So, you know, AA's become my family. And I love, you know, everybody here deeply. And AA shows up when I need it, every single time. You know, even when it isn't about recovery, AA shows up every single time. And, you know, and that's what I try to do, because that's what was done for me. I try to give back every chance I can get. So, sorry, Mike, I didn't really go as long as I hoped, but you're up.
Good job, Shaan.
My name is Michael, I'm alcoholic. Shaan and Shawn in the afternoon, thank you very much. Yeah, Shawn came to work, and Shawn was one of those guys where you come to AA and you see people in different, you know, little sects in AA or little groups or whatever, and there's quite a few of those, and you wonder, I wonder if they had the same opportunity that I've had, would they be able to stay sober and be happy? And you wonder it because you don't want to force it. Because if you force it, they end up running away. and you ruin a chance later, which I've learned. That's been a tough learning lesson, because when you've been given the gift of sobriety, the very first proof of the gift that's been given to you is you can't keep it to yourself. And so you see people, and you see them struggling, Steve, and everybody been up here. I've seen them all. They've all been with them people where I've seen, and even Russ. I took Russ fishing 6, 7, 10 years ago, and he was telling me about his life, and I just looked at him. I think he was sitting on the crate because we were in a van, and I said, Russ, you're not going to be able to stay sober doing what everybody else is doing. And he didn't believe me, but I left it be. I left it be because he needed to learn that. It's got to come from within, and he learned that for himself. And now he's just amazing. And so I hate to be right, but sponsors are always right. That's the problem. It's just how that goes. I mean, so most of you guys know my story. In and out of AA, the courts would send me in and out of rehabs and treatment centers and penitentiaries and jails, and just a mess. Never had a sense of belonging. Could never honor a commitment. Couldn't show up for work. Couldn't keep a relationship, couldn't be a parent, couldn't do nothing worthwhile in life, nothing. And the big book talks about things that are worthwhile in life. And I couldn't do any of those things. And I'd go to AA because the court would send me, or every once in a while I'd get a notion and go on my own. And I'd hear different things in AA. And I'm not hating on AA. I love Alcoholics Anonymous, and I think the program is 100% perfect. But it's filled with people. And I go to the meetings and I hear stuff like, don't drink and go to meetings. And you guys already heard how I kind of feel about that, is that I could not figure out how to not drink and go to meetings. And so I would drink, and then I wouldn't go to the meeting. And then I'd go back to rehab, and I'd go to the meetings, and I'd hear, don't drink and go to meetings. And I just tried and tried and tried to do that with everything that was in me, but inevitably I drank. And I drank, and I thought what I thought was I was just worse than everybody else, or that somehow everybody got themselves sober and they come here to celebrate it, and I just don't fit in because I couldn't do it. And all these different kind of slogans, and some slogans are good, some slogans, if not drinking and going to meetings works for you, then don't drink and go to meetings, by all means. But for an alcoholic like me, it's just not enough. Meaning the big book is pretty clear about me lacking power. And so I'm not going to get no power from not drinking and going to meetings. And that's just the truth. It's just a hard truth. And so if you're a real alcoholic, like the big book describes, you need power, and you need it quick. And if you don't get some power quick, you probably ain't going to make it. That's been my experience. I've seen it over and over and over again. I do believe in this wonderful, amazing thing called God's grace. And I promise you, in my sobriety, I've stayed sober on grace, because I've made some poor decisions and didn't listen, and so forth and so on. And so I got sober in the abandoned basement in West Akron. I begged God to help me, and I didn't care what the help looked like or where it come from or anything like that. And I ended up at AA. I didn't have it on my calendar. It wasn't on my schedule. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't even have a calendar, so it wasn't like planning out days or anything like that. But I begged God to help me, and on that evening, I ended up at Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got to the meeting. I got dropped off by somebody. I had to sit in the back seat of someone's car because they wouldn't let me sit in the front. And
That's how we did Elijah.
And when I got to the meeting, everybody was doing like you see here. He was laughing and smoking cigarettes, and there were girls there, and those meetings went away here. But, all the things that I was completely intimidated by. And so when I was and I got dropped off, and I lit up a cigarette, and my alcoholism, the centers in my mind, set in on me, and the alcoholism said, "Are you stupid? Look at you. You just ate pizza off the sidewalk. You're a bum. You live in an abandoned basement. Don't go in that meeting. They're all going to laugh at you. You probably stink because you ain't showered, you don't brush your teeth, you drink water out of the hot water tank." And I'm not saying all this stuff because maybe none of you guys ever did any of that stuff, but I did. And so my alcoholism was telling me to not go into the meeting, right? That my alcoholism is the enemy, right? And so what I believe my thinking is really my alcoholism, and I can't trust it. You see, it's a setup. If I trust, one of the earliest things I remember said, if you're sitting alone and you're thinking you're kicking it with an idiot, that was in my driving me in my every decision, they made it was opposite. And they welcomed me, they introduced themselves to me, they smiled, they showed me where the coffee was, I got me a meeting schedule, and that's what I remember about my first meeting was the welcome that I received, and that they had cake, because I was hungry. That meeting was over, I got dropped off to the abandoned basement where I lived. My first 3 days of sobriety I spent in the abandoned basement, reading the Bible, reading my big book, and praying a prayer that seemed to work, which was, God, please help me. God, please help me. And I dreamed a dream, and my dream that I dreamed is if I could just be sober and homeless, that would be cool. God, if I could just be sober and homeless, that'd be so cool. And I just was so beat and so just destroyed. Alcoholism just destroyed me. I went and got me a sponsor. I went up to the King School group because it was close to the abandoned basement, and that sponsor started me on step work, and I joined a home group over in Fairlawn. And the reason I joined that home group was because the meeting started at 8 and they opened at 5:30, and I didn't have nowhere to go. And so I would go there early and help set up the meeting, put up chairs, make coffee, whatever, and sit around, and I just didn't have nowhere to go. And so I made it my home group, and that was my home group for 4 years. And what I remember about that was I had a sense as a result, and I didn't even mean to. It wasn't that someone said, go over there and set them chairs up, or get to that meeting at 5:30. That wasn't my initial charge, if you will. It was just out of circumstance. And what happened out of circumstance, which I know today to be God's love and power and grace, is that I got to have a sense of belonging in Alcoholics Anonymous by the actions I took in that home group, and I didn't even mean to do it. I got to make coffee. Pretty soon they quit coming. I don't know why, but then it was just me. I had to do every damn thing, right? And so I had to take the bus. I take that number 1 bus up West Market Street, and I get to the meeting, and they wouldn't have no coffee or no cookies, and there was a bunch of old timers there, and if the coffee wasn't right, then you was going to get it. Them old timers was going to yell at you about the coffee, about the temperature in the room, and they didn't, it's just kind of how it was over there. And so I had to walk to the Acme to get the cookies. The thing about it was I never bitched about it, and I say that because I was so very grateful just to be sober. I would have did anything. And while that was happening, what was going on was I had a little bit of ownership there. A little bit of ownership, right? That meeting, I left that home group, I don't know, everybody left, and I was doing everything for a couple of years, and it got out of line. I think I was on the back end of a broken relationship, and then came over here. We did the Fellowship of Spirit, which is another Broad Highway group, and like I told you, I'm an underdog fan. And the reason I'm an underdog fan, let me be clear about that, is when I say I'm an underdog fan, what I'm really saying is I believe that the program of Alcoholics Anonymous will work for any depth or degree of alcoholism. I don't care how many times you tried and failed and came and relapsed and went back to the penitentiary. I could give a damn less because I know the program is powerful. And I know it works, 100% sure. If you had it like I got it, it'll work for you too. And they say that the success rate of Alcoholics Anonymous is somewhere around 6%. I disagree. Not in the primary purpose group. The success rate is way higher than 6%. I don't know that it's 75 like it was initially, but it's damn close. And so what we found is that the home group is the firing line. The very most important place you can be in Alcoholics Anonymous, in my opinion, is at your home group. There's no better, more important place in all of AA. They say there's no leaders but trusted servants, and we'll talk about that later by all means. But the very most important place you can be in AA is at your home group. Setting up, being there that's where the new guys are coming. That's where the new guys are coming. And it's one thing to have a plan for the newcomer and call it just, I'm going to my home group early to set up in case the new guy comes. But sometimes it ain't always the damn new guy. Sometimes it's the guy who's been sober for 11 years. Right? Like Paul was talking about last week at the meeting, and he went and started getting out of place and out of line, and he started falling off the beam, and he had people there to help him. Sometimes being there early is for that guy who's struggling alcoholic to get off the beam a little bit. Right? To carry the message not only to the newcomer, but to the sick alcoholic, which I have been, and most of you have known about some of the things I've been through sober. Some self-imposed crises that I needed you to get out of. And see, what I found is that any problem that I've had in Alcoholics Anonymous, I never got to go through alone, even if I created it. Even if I knew it was going to be bad and did it on purpose and made a mess, you guys still love me. And I don't have to, just because I made a mess, got myself jammed up, don't mean I got to figure my way out alone. What an amazing demonstration of the grace of God. You see? And so this plan for the newcomer and the home group, they obviously, we know for sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that that's where the new guys are coming. They're coming to our home groups, right? Is it enough? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not God to know all the particulars. But I do know that for me and for the underdogs, the real sick alcoholics, the ones the big book describes, that it's more than just being there. You got to get them working steps as soon as possible. Shawn came to the job. I've been seeing Shawn for years struggle, and I always wondered if he had the same opportunity I had, could he stay sober? And so when he came to the job site, it was an opportunity that I had been waiting on, not like impatiently. I'm not losing sleep over Shawn by all means, but I wondered. And so when he came to the job, the opportunity was there. And Jack will talk about preparation, opportunity coming together. And it's a very powerful thing, right? So he came, I talked to him, and I wondered if I could, here's some step one, just do this. And when I usually am able to sit with them guys and describe to them what powerlessness really means and what makes me alcoholic, usually what happens is the lights come on. Because a lot of times, most people in AA, they're coming to AA and they're saying, do you believe they get a sponsor? And they're sponsored whoever sponsored them. They ask them, do you believe you're an alcoholic? And they say, yeah. Why? Because I'm in AA, I must be an alcoholic, but then I have no idea what the hell it means. Right? And so I make myself an alcoholic because of the consequences or because of my outside circumstances. And it has nothing to do with alcoholism, because alcoholism is an inside job. And how am I going to know what I don't know? It's impossible for me to know what I don't know. I need someone to love me to tell me. Right? And there's no possible way you can be given the gift of sobriety and not love other alcoholics. How could that even be possible? So yeah, we're there. We get the music playing. We got literature out. You know what I mean? We got laughing and giggling and making jokes and all kinds of different things. And I've seen God use the most raunchiest jokes to attract the new guy. The new guys ain't coming here on the spiritual wings of glory. They're coming here all busted and disgusted. And so when we're out there making fun of each other, it's a little bit closer to their language. You see? And I've seen God work in that. Not only that, but this. The plan for the newcomer. What is the plan for the newcomer? You got to start getting into the program, into the solution. Whether you know it or not, every meeting in the whole world is named after one thing. And that one thing that every single meeting is named after is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. The primary purpose group of Alcoholics Anonymous. The Broad Highway group of Alcoholics Anonymous. The Yana group of Alcoholics Anonymous. Whatever the hell ever the name of the meeting is, it's named after the big book. Is your home group a representation of the big book? And what is the big book? The big book is a solution to a hopeless disease called alcoholism. We want our home group to as much line up with the big book in our literature as much as possible. And see, we get you working steps. We'll get you. We had a home group meeting this Thursday, and it's not new to us anymore. We've been doing it for a while. Man, I bet we got 40 people in our damn home group. And so what you know what the biggest problem we have in our home group? How are we going to get all these new people busy? You're not going to leave here without a job. You'll be the trash guy, the toilet guy, you'll be the coffee guy. You will have a job here. And why we want you to have a job, it's not that we need you to do it. But what we need you to have is a sense of belonging. We want you to know that you belong here. And I've been sober long enough to know what it's like to go to a home group and not do nothing. And just show up and do nothing. And guess what happens? It separates me from that group. The people are busybodies, are getting stuff done, they have a loud voice. And when they say this needs to change, we listen. Because they're doing it. They're part of it. They know what's going on. And when I don't do nothing, it separates me from the group. I lose my voice. You see, I lose my belonging and I lose my ownership. You see, so we want to give the new people ownership. We want you to know that you heard it before, all you got to have is a desire to be here. That's it. If you come to PPG, you're going to get more than a desire. You're going to get a job. You're going to get a sponsor. You'll be started on some step work. You're going to get picked up the next day for a meeting. We're going to give you the very best opportunity that you have ever had to find God and stay sober. I guarantee it. I 100% guarantee if you come to my home group, that's what you'll be met with. I guarantee it. It don't matter if you're a tough case. It don't matter if you cuss us out, because we've been cussed out, right? I've been cussed out. Russ cussed me out. Mike cussed me out through text message the other day, a couple weeks ago. It's cool. We can handle it. You know what I mean? But I was hopeless. I was hopeless. I didn't have hope. And until I got sat down with somebody who took me through the big book and showed me what the program was, I didn't know. There was no way I could know. It's impossible to know. And so I went off of what everybody else told me, and what everybody else told me was weak. I'm just going to be honest about it. It was just very weak. And the big book says, well, what about the real alcoholic? Well, what about Mike Lauer? You see, what about me? That can't stay sober, that lives in the abandoned basement, that ends up in the jails, that does all these crazy things, that destroyed my self-esteem. Is there hope for someone like me? That's exactly what this big book is about. And so we want our home group to represent and reflect that message. You see? And so you come to our home group, there's a plan for you. You'll have a sponsor. You'll have a job. We'll get you a service commitment. We'll get you involved in one of the many, many things we do. Now, I remember when I was probably about 6 months sober and they gave me the keys over to that first home group I had, about 4 people said, what are you doing giving this guy 6 months sober the keys to the church? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I would say stuff like, I didn't know you was a home group member. I said that a little underhanded, but I meant it. Right? The big book telling me they took people home, they tried to commit suicide in their house, they was out on the highways and the byways doing whatever they could to try to carry the message. And why can't I have 6 months sober? You can't share a meeting until you're a year sober. You can't do this until you're this long sober. That's bullcrap. I don't believe that one bit at all. If you have been given the gift of sobriety, I don't care how long it is, it's your responsibility to carry that message. And if you come to the primary purpose group, you will be given that responsibility. And if you don't want to do that, you'll probably just leave. You see? The only other thing, and we'll talk more about that later, opposition. Do you think that you can be reaching newcomers and lives changing, people rescued from a spiritual hopelessness that there's no hope for, and not have opposition? There's going to be slander involved. There's going to be hate involved. People are going to lie about you. I just found out yesterday I tried to beat up the guy out in the parking lot. I didn't know it. Everybody else knew it. I didn't know it. Right? And sometimes that hurts. You know why? Because sometimes the people that hate the most are the people that you love the most. I promise. You see? But God is very powerful, and He knows. And He says, vengeance is mine. Right? And I've been sober long enough to take some vengeance in my own hands. Right? And that was my reward, which was nothing but shame, and now I owe another damn amends to a damn idiot. Right? But if I let God work it out, I've never seen God do what I want to do to him. Pee on him, all these different things. But what I've seen God do, I've seen God grow me. I've seen God bless me financially. I've seen God bless me with more peace, a better night's of sleep, the ability to forgive. You see? And that's the plan for the newcomer. I've been given, and I always talk about this, when in my damn basement, I dreamed a dream, and it was if I could just be sober and homeless, God, that'd be cool. I'm telling you guys, and God, honestly, I'm not trying to sell you nothing. I get no commission on this. Every dream I ever dreamed came true. I got to keep dreaming new dreams. That's my experience. That's my experience. And I've been sober 15 years. And it don't stop. I got a sponsor. I got men in my life to tell me when I'm wrong. My guys will tell me if I'm wrong, which is sometimes tough. Right? But some of my guys have matured into a way where I trust them. The big book says you can create the fellowship that you crave. How are you going to do that if you ain't going to do that at your home group? How are you going to do that? You might do it some other way, but at a home group is where it's at. It's the most important place in Alcoholics Anonymous is at your home. I Guaranteed. And so my suggestion and my encouragement, if I could give you a charge, is invest in your home group. Have a plan for the newcomer. And watch God do his thing. Watch God bless you and bless many, many other people. What did you see that new guy that came in all crusty bring his kids to the meet 6 months later? That's a miracle. You see? That's a miracle. Hey, I passed. Thank you, guys.
That was short, I don't want
All right, yeah, let's thank these guys for a nice talk, man. That was great. Yeah, let's close with the Lord's Prayer. We could just, we don't have to circle it, we can just close where we are.
I just got a phone call. My dad is in the hospital. He rushed to the hospital. He was a steel worker, and the press just closed down on him. Oh, gosh. Keep my family in prayer, please.
Yes, sir. Whose father? Our Father.